kids coming into USC, and they still haven't been taught about their community. It's still not being taught in elementary school, in junior high, middle school, in high school. And I know there's some that are doing it, because I have my alums who are actually doing it now. But they're the social justice teachers. They're the ones who are fighting. They're the ones who are pushing, going back to Martin. Why do we need to do that? Why don't we just implement it completely, that we have American studies in the K-12 system? So that when they get to universities and colleges, they're like, yeah, I took that African American studies. I took that Chicano studies. I know this group of people. I know that group. We could talk about race.
District 1 or District 5, you can run
we get kids here who haven't talked about race because they don't talk about it in K-12. So I get to deal with them, and I love that. That's my job. But it would be so amazing if in K-12 we could actually have a real conversation about real issues instead of sugarcoating it and not having them know about real things that are going on. So, my 2 cents.
Well, mine's more directed to the audience and the students. It's just like, actually you say like, we have to do something, right? We need to get more involved, and it's important to get involved. There is current research right now. I think there is one that like got my attention by the California Public Policy. They were stating within the next 20 years, there's going to be a high need of educated workforce. What's going on now? We don't have the numbers to like cover those educated workforce. Why? People is retiring, a lot of people is moving out of the country, out of the state. What's going to happen when those people start like leaving their like those jobs? Right now at this moment, so there is a need, but we don't have the supply to cover those needs. What's the supply? You, like graduate students, we need more graduate, like more actually students to graduate, to give the opportunity to those who are not like who are not given the opportunity. If we don't do this for the next 20-something, actually it's 25 years, but that was like 4 years ago. It's 20 years now. If we don't do something to cover this need, the impact is going to be huge in the economy. The impact is going to be huge in our communities. The impact is going to be like, education basically is linked to everything. Economy, communities, poverty, everything. So what I encourage everyone is like, continue with education, be successful, create, like, be what you want to be. On the other side, you're already here in college, then, you know, once we graduate, let's start working with our community. Let's start getting those ideas. Let's start working, like, doing more, creating more ideas, creating plans. We are people who create. That's what we're here for. So what was your short question?
Anyone have any questions?
First of all, thank you to the speakers. Your passion definitely comes across. I'm here with a group of high school students today, and I think that rarely do we have the opportunity to even hear the issues at this level. So what is something that you can share with the students, particularly because a lot of them are still in the struggle, right? So when I'm talking to them about a job in 5 years, they don't hear that because they're worried about feeding their child, helping their family, not getting kicked out, whatever the case may be. So if you were able to share one thing that you felt really makes a difference for yourself, that maybe can motivate them when they're going through it, when they don't want to go to school anymore, and when they're just like, I don't get it, what would be that one thing?
My case, my parents. You see, I still, to these days, on weekends, I still clean offices with my parents. I see my mom cleaning the restroom, like getting on her knees sometimes, and I have to take that position with her. Like, I want a better future for my mom and my family. But then I start thinking, like, what about the parents of other people too? So that kind of like, that's what gets me going to like keep going on with my education as well. It's just my parents, also my future as well.
There's so much. It's such a huge question. I think something to keep in mind. You know, when you think about undocumented students, you know, undocumented students are working their butt off trying to get this opportunity, but when they get there, sometimes the doors are closed or it's much difficult. And if you have citizenship, you're like really just throwing that out the window, you know? So you need to know you have an opportunity. Now, real to real, it's not easy. There's a lot of boxes, a lot of doors, and I hope you kind of heard some of them, you know, but definitely through my story, it wasn't like Oxy in Colombia was handed to me. Most of the time it was doors slammed on me, you know? But my mom, and it does go back to my mom, you know, it was about my mom and my sisters, but ultimately it's about our community too. We don't know how to help each other. You know, we'll help us, but you gotta help other people too. You gotta be humble, you know? So you gotta just really be mindful that my mom always says, el que no pide de comer, no le dan de comer. If you don't ask to be fed, you will not be fed. And so sometimes, if a teacher doesn't have the time, if a counselor doesn't have the time, if so-and-so doesn't have the time, you gotta go and knock on that damn door. When I went to knock at the principal's door, you know he was like, who is this damn kid? And I didn't get to finish that story, but after Occidental College, myself and my sister Claudia, who also went to Oxy after me, we had to come back to Franklin to confront the counselor who was not taking care of my sisters who had learning disabilities. So get this, I don't even have kids, right? And I had to come back to do that. I didn't have to, I wanted to. That's my family. But now, going back to what you said, the work that I do, my job here at USC is to help our Latino students. It's an awesome job. And it's also beyond that, like however I get to help other kids when there's high school, middle school outreach, you know, when I get a chance to talk to students. So if we could help more people and look at it from a positive way, it's positivity. It's when you become just about yourself, an individual, and you just don't care, and you don't see stuff, that's a very shallow life, you know? So think about familia, think about community, and think about yourself too, you know, but in a good, positive way. And know that other people have done it, but I don't tell you that to be like, oh, see, why don't you do it? I'm like, know that people have struggled.
That's right.
You know? And it's gonna take some struggle, but you can do it too. But ask for help too.
So I think I've learned to look at every struggle as an opportunity, but mostly what I want you to hear is you get to be great. So you just decide to do that. And that means giving up other people's rules and helping yourself heal and be strong. And I see a lot of anger. You're not going to believe this. I was very comfortable with anger. And at USC, I learned it was okay to be angry. And so whatever the deal is, I think we have to work to help ourselves not feel alone, because when we feel alone is generally when we want to give up. And so we have to have a mindset that we're not giving up. That is just not an option. There's too much good around us to be left out. And so if we want to be great, if we want to be successful, my abuelo used to say, ¿Quién eres? And I used to think it was so crazy of him because he knew who we were. But I think that ¿Quién eres? Question really does, you know, he's deep. My grandfather was pretty deep. You have to be able to answer, who are you? And what do you want? And then you got to be willing to work for it. And I think when we do know our history, you know, one of the reasons why LA Unified doesn't teach ethnic studies, they don't know it yet. LA Unified doesn't know it's a Latino serving district. It doesn't. It is, I mean, when you think about, you know, I'm a Chicano studies major. I learned our mission is to destapar. But then I heard Alex Zaragoza, our Chicano studies professor, say, but it starts in this room. Because the tapados aren't just outside. It's when we think we know and we don't learn, right? And then you go back and you ask your mom and dad, hey, what happened? Why did you do this? Why? But we're filled with all this judgment of not wanting to be us. When we allow ourselves to be us, there's a lot of power there. Because then, like compadre said, I mean, imagine, I'm afraid that someone's going to ask or find out. Undocumented students have that issue of documentation, but for the rest of us, we're also afraid that someone's going to find out. Whatever that secret is, we think we're hiding. But really, development and human, you know, getting to adulthood is really allowing yourself to be you. And that's why education is so powerful. Because through education, we generally grow to understand ourselves, right? So I would make sure that you know you are great. You are building that picture that you work towards, and you have an amazing community and a tradition of struggle that does lead us somewhere. The reason we all do this every day is because we've experienced a little bit of a victory. And when you see that, you never want to go back to not having the victory, right? So we're not at 100% graduation, and I don't always get along with my colleagues, and I always have to stand up and hear all the stuff that didn't go well, right? But every day I know we're moving forward. And that's the end. Compadre started the conversation today by talking about the energy. We have to make sure that the energy we call into our life is moving us forward. Because the energy of stop and go backwards, that leaves you in the same place, right? Who do you want? Who are you? What do you want? Go do it.
Thank you.
It's supposed to get you to graduation. I think all the social emotional support is part of that road. So if you know, remember I started saying about personalization and decentralization? We need to know who the client is in the classroom, but it's not one or the other. So I need to use social emotional learning to support academic achievement. That PSW is not like if I have money after the budget. That PSW is one of my strategies to get there. I've said to you we're 45th in the country in per pupil spending. I don't control that. Somebody has to run for state office to give us more dollars. But what I do know, we should have, I would love to have every high school, every school have a social worker. And we actually, next to the county, LA Unified hires the next large group of people. We need more. We need more teachers. We need more counselors. We need more social workers. We need more cafeteria workers. We're just coming out of the last recession. But what I'm saying to you is we lost dollars and academic achievement went up. We got better at spending the dollars we did have. And yes, more PSWs. People understood a PSA and a PSW was part of school functioning because guess what? Social workers are taught differently than teachers. So we think everybody, I remember when I was a second year here, the principal, I was at a school in Whittier. Oh good, you're here. Suicidal kid in my office. And I went like this. What am I going to do, right? I was a counselor for 6 years. I'm in the second year of the program, and I'm afraid, that day I knew I was a macro practitioner. But the idea that there are people who know what to do, right? So I would say to you, we are building the world we want to live in. If we're going to be at 45th in the nation in per pupil spending, I'd rather be 45th with a 70% graduation rate than 45th with a 45% graduation rate. And part of what we have to help people do is change their expectations and their belief system. Because social workers learn, here's the profile, here's the vignette, let me tell you all these elements or indicators so that we can overcome, so that we can help empower, so that we can grow out of wherever we're at, right? Not so that we can make excuses about why you shouldn't be mad that my dropout rate is so high. Or, who are we pointing to? Are we pointing to the kids and their problems as to why they didn't get there? Or to the system and how we didn't do the work? So part of the strategy is I am proud of the work I've done. I am unsatisfied with our progress today. So yes, it's better, but it's nowhere near where I want it to be. Because I can't tell my families, okay, you 30%, you gotta be okay that we didn't get to you. That's not okay. Every mom that comes, every family that comes, they're expecting we get to the goal, right? So what I'm saying is we have to help the system learn. PSAs, social workers, the helping professions, they're not extra. We don't just send the kids to DCFS. We bring those services inside of us, inside of the school system, so that we can let the kids be healthy and ready to learn, right? But it's not either or it's not like, I can't deal with him until he gets his aggregations resolved. That's not how we do it. It's you help people along the way, because regardless of your crisis, academic mastery has to be part of the plan. And I don't know, I mean, if like an IEP or a graduation plan, absolutely. Monica has to be well, thinking space, clear, to have the best attitude towards learning. But I gotta help that happen fast. You know what's happening with restorative justice? We have some schools that do circle. First thing, it's like our practice class. We sit in a circle and we tell each other, what are we concerned with right now? And we agree, we're gonna put that exists, and we honor it. Now we're gonna focus on algebra. Because we have to help ourselves know that if you're poor and struggling, the best solution is to learn to create choices for yourself, right? So part of it is understanding that, you know, I remember, I think the biggest gift was understanding that these are problems of the living. Social workers, people, families. It's not about getting rid of all your problems. It's about not letting your problems be the only thing in your life, right? It's about managing and overcoming. Sometimes we stop on problem identification and we don't get to solution. But I think all of my kids at Belmont, all 900 of them, Belmont used to be a school with 24% graduation. Today it's closer to 55. It's nowhere near good. But it's not 5,000 kids. We've built new schools for it. Kids are still struggling, but my commitment to them is you can struggle and get to graduation. It's not like you're struggling and no, I'm sorry, we don't have services for you. See? Did I answer your question?
We have to be, sorry, it's almost like 10 to our ending time, so.
I have two comments.
Oh, okay.
Two really important comments.
Okay.
This is great. You're here and you're in graduate school, okay? Most of you never thought you were going to be here. I never thought I was going to be here, okay? I didn't get my citizenship until I was 18 now, but we're in Africa, so whole other story. But let me tell you something. One of the things you don't know, you struggle through school and college and stuff like that. You get out of this program, I always tell students, you're halfway through, because beyond your master's is PhD. And I guarantee you, there are people in this room who are going to get their PhD one of these days. The other thing you don't know about getting a PhD, when you come out of a school like this, you're extremely marketable to other programs, okay? And it's not about which one's going to let you in. It's about which one's going to give you the best scholarship, all right? So keep that in mind. The further you go, the cheaper it gets, actually, okay? Now, the other thing, this thing is like a wow. I love it. No. I make a point of kind of showcasing what I call our social work folk art. This is a fantastic piece. I know it's going to be traveling all over the place. I hope it doesn't get too beat up. I definitely want to make sure we see this at Noche, okay, as our centerpiece. But also, come graduation, when that piece comes, I want this to show up somewhere in my office or school of social work, and we will build a case for it. Okay? I would like every student in the Latino Social Caucus, when you get it, to go on the back and sign your name and date it. Okay? We're going to find a place in the school. We'll have something built with a plaque that this is what you left as your legacy. Okay? And it'll welcome all the new students coming into the program. So, all right? Can you make that happen? Yes. All right.
There's one last thing for the students that are present here. You have so much power that you won't believe. If you have, like, the only thing I can like tell you right now as a student, as my experience is like, if there is something bothering you, if there's something that you don't like in your community, organize. You have the power as a student. You won't believe like how much power you can have when you organize. You can create change. Being students, you're probably thinking, no, but I'm too young. What am I gonna do? Like, trust me, you're students. You can do so much. Organize, create change among your community. You can do it. What's stopping you right now? You're free, you're here, you're learning. Take advantage of your professors, the faculty that is supporting you. Trust me, you can create change, and you won't believe how big of a change you can make in our communities here, your community, and maybe pass it on to other communities. It's a chain reaction. It is.
Thank you, everyone.
I also want to give a quick round of applause to Richard and Joanna who put this whole event together.